Hello, my name is Peshawn Bread, and it's wonderful to be here with you.
Well, Peshawn, I noticed that nerdish poster on your wall.
Oh, which one? The in-estate poster?
Yes. Now, I interviewed in a state last year, and I love Ryland. I really do. But the most fascinating thing about Ryland, I realized, was you.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
So, stalking around his page and then seeing, like, oh, I'm in love with my girlfriend. Oh, my girlfriend. I was like, who is she? And I was like, I'm in love with her too. What do we do? Peshawn, what do we do?
Oh my
So
God.
you are kind of a big deal, I guess, in my small sphere. You're a filmmaker. Do you live in San Francisco? What's the deal?
Oh my goodness. Hello to all my Bay Area friends and pals and family. I'm actually out in Santa Fe or right now. Rylan and I live together, as you could tell from this geeky poster. And I'm speaking to you from our studio. So I'm actually a Comanche filmmaker who studied out in San Francisco for the longest time ever. I was out there for the past 5 years or so. And I'm currently working on a bunch of different productions. I'm working on an Amazon show at the moment, and I'm currently working on my short film, The Daily Life of Mistress Red, as well as developing a Indigenous vampire series.
Stop it. Are they going to glitter in the sunlight like the other vampires?
Shoo, I guess. Just kidding. No,
I had
no.
a I had a younger cousin who made me watch the Twilights, and I, I guess I'm team Jacob, right? He was the werewolf.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch them again, I'm team nobody. They're both like the worst.
Okay, there's your first shirt that goes in production. I'm team nobody. Now, are you allowed to talk about some of these projects you're doing? Because I understand like confidentiality and Amazon and
Yeah. So the project, I can talk a little bit about it, but not too much. So here's what I can get away with. So I'm working as a director's assistant on the Amazon production. It's an original TV series called Outer Range, and it features and stars Josh Brolin as well as Noah Reed, Imogen Poots, and that's pretty much all I can say about it because that's what's already out there, press release, etc. The Daily Life of Mistress Red is my own short film and project that I've been working on since 2019, and it's about a native dominatrix for hire who whips white supremacists. And the vampire series that I'm working on and developing, it's still in the early phases, so there's not really too much to say about it just yet.
now my Comanche cinematographer. Um,
Ooh.
are there stories from an indigenousness perspective on vampire suckers or the living dead, or you know what I'm saying? Like, do we have weird stories about this stuff?
I mean, within, you mean within like cultural and tribal
Yeah.
research? I mean, I haven't found anything so far, but I'm kind of developing that into my series where essentially vampirism is a form of colonialism. And so it's like you have these European vampires coming to the States and trying to get all these indigenous people to become vampires to essentially colonize them and make them turn against their own people and to fight against their own people in Indian wars. That's like the beginning and kind of like the backstory I have going so far. But there's the twist, which is one of the vampires who's the oldest is actually not a form of colonization, and they're trying to find like these people who are indigenous and vampires at the same time. So it's kind of like a return story. So it's like, yes, this is a
Yeah.
lifestyle that was forced, but it's not exactly that.
Well, and then there is a culture within that culture to get
Yeah.
to. I dig it. So did you already cast the part for your dominatrix lady? Because
Oh my goodness.
I'm just saying, like, I can yield a whip.
Okay. Oh, all right. I'll remember that. So I'm
And
actually working.
I got the anger issues. So this is gonna
Oh,
be
that's hilarious. But I actually casted in 2019 Jennifer Rader and she's from Oklahoma. And she was this. I had done an open casting call when I first did this, and I posted like a video, and it went everywhere. And I was like, please, if you know anyone within these character descriptions, I had the dominatrix character, the cousin to the dominatrix character, which is like a native fashionista essentially. And I was like, if you have anti vibes and you're a fashionista, you need to audition for this part. And it was a really interesting process to see how many girls sent in videos and submissions for Mistress Red, and it was like the most comforting process I think out of all of it, because I was like, oh crap, I was like, no one's going to audition for this role because it's such a heavy like role and burden to carry. It's an image thing. So everywhere you go, you might be seen as a native dominatrix, and you're not. It's like it's a big role. But I casted Jennifer Rader, and she was spectacular. She's this just wonderful actress. She's short, she's indigenous, she's got long hair, and she just came in, and we had done a video casting and then had her come to Santa Fe to do the callback. And I had a whip and a harness and a couple of things. And I was like, here you go, do your best. And she made it her own thing. And I just loved that. I felt so comfortable. And she wasn't aware of like BDSM or anything within that world, but still she made it her own, which I think is beautiful.
See, I would do dream catchers in the middle of the harness. That's how dedicated.
Oh my God. I'll keep you in mind for the series. So I'm working on developing a series from it.
Don't beat people. I'm just saying, given the opportunity, I'd like to explore that. I'm just saying.
All right.
So you're not pigeon-holding yourself into, I am a Native woman. I have to tell Native women's stories about grandmothers and the elk. You know what I mean? You're not, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people, like, I'm Native, so I can only talk about the wind and the grasshoppers.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I felt like that was something that I've always had a hard time dealing with within Native film. I mean, my work is purely dedicated to Indigenous women, to Indigenous people who feel excluded and who have never felt like their narrative was shown in Native films. For example, like growing up, Native boys had Victor and Thomas. Native girls, we had Pocahontas. Like that doesn't make any sense at all. And I'm tired of seeing films where Native women are victimized, and I think that's something that like I relate to so much. And having, a background, having like a sad history with sexual assault and things like that. Like I'm tired of seeing that on the screen over and over and over. It's like, rape is not a character building type of exercise to practice on women characters. It's not. And so I feel like just within Native film, I want to make films where everyone can feel like we belong. If you watch like indie films and you're like, that's totally my cousin, or that's totally my aunt. And that's another thing, is that like Native women in films in the past have only been mothers, grandmothers, aunties, and have helped a male character on their journey. And that's good and well, but we're so much more than just like the support. We're so much more than just people who can pat you on the back and be like, Auntie's here. It's like, no, we have our own stories. We have our own lives, and they're very interesting stories.
But we come from such a matriarchal society. So we were, for millennia gone back, the moms, aunties, grandmas, sisters, cousins were in charge. So how do you break that colonized storytelling of the man, the strong woman behind the man that saves the woman, all that kind of stuff? I would worry that this kind of colonized storytelling has no place. Women can't be in charge. What are you talking about? Women can't save the day. Where's her man?
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. And I think to take charge of that is something that's also like another difficult process to do. It all begins in writing. It begins, film is a collaboration. It's not just an art made by one person. It's by multiple. It could just start with writing a character who simply does not have a man and is asexual and completely a badass. Or you could have a woman who is married but is the breadwinner. It's like you can switch up the roles a bit. And I think most of my stories are kind of set in that tone because I remember watching Fargo as like a child and loving Frances McDormand's character and how she was just like this badass pregnant cop, and then her husband was like making her breakfast or bringing her lunch, and I thought that was like the cutest thing in
And
the
he was
world.
a painter,
Exactly, he did
and
stamps.
she was strong and intelligent without being, I don't want to say it and sound mean, but without being that butchy, over aggressive female. She was totally mellow, totally calm, totally from Minnesota or whatever, but still exuded strength without being, I have a mohawk and a machete, I'm a woman.
Yeah, it was just like embracing every bit of her own personality. It wasn't like a forced sense of they were like, oh, you're a woman, so therefore we have to make you super feminine. And she was just herself, and that's what I loved about it, is that they did a good job writing her character as well as casting. And I feel like stories that are women led and that have a strong female could definitely be a thing in the next generation of film.
So out of that entire movie with the wood chipper, with the based on a true story scandal, with murder over murder, with violence, you're like, I really like how that female character was written.
Yes, essentially.
All right, Peshawn.
Out of
Okay.
the whole thing, out of the whole scandal, that's what I loved the most.
To me, what I got out of that too, at all those years ago, is the native character was a violent, drunk woman abuser.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, exactly.
So to me, that if you're looking for a dark, scary, mysterious person, they cast a brown person.
Yeah,
So that bugged me, but I mean, I watched that movie too many times because it is such a beautifully twisted story, and I did love the female lead, but once again, that sticks out in my head that here you have a violent, drunk, big brown man.
right. And indigenous on top of that. And it's like, oh geez. Oh
So
geez.
is that progress? Is that not progress? So are you in this realm of your assistant directortude? Are you being seen and respected and acknowledged and valued as an indigenous cinematographer in that realm of the corporate world?
Oh, you bet you. I
Okay,
feel like I feel like a lot of things have changed throughout time, and I feel like I'm given the right amount of respect as anyone would be on set, and I feel like I'm able to voice my opinions and actually have people listen to them. So we actually have an indigenous character in this TV series, and the costume designer was wanting to dress her up in like beaded earrings because she's a cop essentially. So she's a cop, and it's pretty awesome going back to Fargo. So
yeah,
she's an indigenous female cop, and she's a lesbian. And so that's like the best part about it. And they're like, oh, we need to get her like native earrings to wear like on the job. And I was like, okay, understandable. I said, I wear earrings everywhere I go. I'm the type that wears dentillium, the big beaded earrings, all that. And I had happened to be walking through costumes with the director to take notes, and they showed her earrings. And there were these like green neon beaded earrings. And I was like, I said, no, I said, I can actually send you a list of like native artists who
yeah.
make earrings and do that. And she, the costume designer was really respective of that. She was like, yeah, can you? She said, here, let's do an email. She said, I don't mind buying from like people that are local and getting like actually like beaded earrings and things like that. So, I mean, anything helps. Anything helps at this point.
Well, and really, how are you going to be out there keeping the street safe wearing like half of an abalone shell and 10 pounds of, dentally shell? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so I'm cracking up at that because I just see like these big old beaded, Navajo style hoops, like you're under arrest. And I'm sitting there
Oh my
going,
God.
nice earrings. Or maybe it's beaded cuffs. What?
Yeah.
Because that can also be used in your dominatrix too, the beaded cuffs.
I had so many ideas for that. Honestly, I was like, can someone do peyote stitch on like the handle of a whip for me? Like that would be the best thing
That's
ever.
like exactly where I'm going. So maybe we need to start a native violent sex line.
Oh my gosh. I think we need to start like
You
our
know,
own line of BDSM gear, indigenous BDSM gear.
abalone inlays on the.
Oh
Sorry,
my
I
gosh.
see it. I see this line. We're going to have a meeting about our meeting, but this is now happening. Yes, we are And then like, what do we want on the cat of nines? Like sacred feathers.
Oh my God. Here's our advertisement. Buy now. Call 1-800.
I can't. Oh, it's too stupid. But you being heard and actually starting a connection, a relationship between an Amazon costume designer and access to local online native artists is a big deal. That's going to trickle out and over, you know?
hmm I feel like, I mean, again, representation is everything and anything helps. Like, even just like a small opinion about something could totally change the way someone can, address that character. I remember she told me, she was like, I just bought those off of Etsy. And I was like, oh, geez. I was like, here's a couple of artists that I know that would be happy to like help you and be happy to work and um, give you good discounts on jewelry. And I feel like anything helps. And, being a writer and director, for me, I feel like what you see is just like what's going to be stuck in everyone's mind.
Yes.
It's like if you see a visual, someone's going to be like, oh my gosh, I really want those earrings, or what are those? Or why would they wear that? That's not her character. And it's just image. Image matters to the writing of a character.
How can we help bring this vampire story to life?
Ooh.
Like, I like to imagine there's a millionaire in a hammock just waiting to just vomit money on somebody.
Oh my gosh. So let's see. At the moment, I'm working on developing it. So I actually have to create a whole series. And I'm actually working with a couple of studios, I can't really say, who are interested in the idea and want to commission me to write a full season or a second season. But I just have to lay out the groundwork. The way I like to write my characters first and develop everyone's backgrounds, and then put them into a story and then figure out the plot and where these people would go, essentially. But I mean, it's been a process. It's been kind of hard to write that as well as work on the show, because it's 5 days a week, 12 plus hours a day. And we're doing pre-production. We actually shoot on Monday. So it's like just constantly on the go, just constantly. So I don't really have too much time to develop. But I'm hoping after the show is wrapped in July, I'd be able to sit down, run away for a bit, and just write.
I love it. Now, has anybody been mad at you because you straight up just stole like your cousin's character?
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean?
Not, yeah.
'Cause I have
I
a few
mean,
characters in my family, and
not yet
okay.
entirely. I feel like, it's kind of the thing. It's like if you relate to this, it might be based off you, but it might not, but you just might really relate to it.
So you're not
Um,
following your cousin around with the notepad, taking notes on
oh no.
everything they do.
No, I mean, like for some of my cousins and for some of the people that I hang out with, that's like where I draw inspiration from. And it's not necessarily that I'm copying everything about them, but I'm just like, you're loud, you like to talk a lot, but you don't like being around people. I'm like, that's really interesting. So,
You're talking
right.
about me now. So
No, I mean, if you identify with it, yes.
I love it. So it's that little disclaimer. The names are fictional or
Yes.
accidental, whatever. It's like your whole life. I get it. I love it. So I guess you're brilliant. You're creative. You're a writer. You're an assistant director. You're changing the corporate Amazon paradigm of how they view Indigenous women. How did you end up with a reggae bass player?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I feel like you had options.
And he's always my number one. So we had actually met, let's see. So I had lived in Oklahoma for most of my childhood. My mother remarried to an artist out in Santa Fe. So I ended up moving to New Mexico and being within like the Indigenous art community, going to art shows all the time, Indian Market, the Herd art show, the Autry Market in LA. So it was like going to these art shows with my new stepdad and like learning about artists and being immersed in that world. So I remember, I think it was like the first show I did out in California in LA with my stepdad. I was out there, and this boy wearing a Mega Man t-shirt just came up to me and started talking to me. He was like, do you know who this is on my shirt? I was like, I have no idea. I don't know anything about video games. And we just started talking from there. And he just didn't leave me alone. I was like, yay. I was like, I have a friend, because I was very awkward. And, being Comanche and moving out to New Mexico where it was like Pueblo dominated, I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. So it was really kind of hard for me to make friends. Plus, I was awkward and shy and queer at a young age, and it was like, I don't know what to do. So meeting Rylan was just so sweet. We ended up talking, and then we just knew each other for years after that. I was 13, he was 16 at the time. And it was actually during India Market 2019. I had done a fashion show. I had walked for Shy Natives in the India Market fashion show. They had an after party, and I got bored of the after party. So a couple of my friends and I decided to go to a different bar, and we went there. And Marlon was singing. He was on stage and he was performing with Interstate. And I just like looked at him. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, wow, that's Rylan. I haven't seen him in years. So I had just walked right up in front of the stage because there was a space. And I had walked up, I started dancing. I was having a good time. I looked up at him and he looked down at me and he just like closed his eyes and like turned away. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, I wonder why. I said, maybe he doesn't like me. Okay, whatever. And so after that, the show wrapped up and it was at the point where he was like, oh, well, I'm going to sell merch. And so I had waited for him. I was like, oh, I'm going to say hi. I was like, I'm just still going to say hi. So he was selling a t-shirt. He was like, oh my gosh, just give me a second. Give me a second. I was like, okay. And at the time I was like, well, I better order my Uber, because in Santa Fe, Ubers take like 10, 20 minutes because there's not many out here. So I was like, let me order my Uber. So I did. And we started talking and it's like, your Uber's outside now. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh geez. And he was like, wait, don't go. I was like, my Uber's outside, bye. And I just left. And we ended up texting and just hanging out like day after day while I was in New Mexico before I went back to San Francisco. And it just started from there. We were just talking for days on end, catching up.
It's so sweet. And friendship is a foundation. If you're not like homies and understanding of that person's weirdness and personality and who their heart is, I don't see you can have a delicious, wonderful long-term relationship unless you're friends first.
Seriously though, and what was so cute about it was that like we've always had a crush on each other. I remember having like the hugest crush on him and like texting him from like my flip phone and being like, I like you. And he was like, and I thought I was rejected, but apparently we cleared this up the other day. He was like, no, I told you that I like you too, but I was with someone. And I was like, oh, well, you were like 3 years my senior. So I was like, you just had more experience. And I was like, OMG, wow, he's so cool.
See, the tables have turned because to me, you seem more mature and together than he does.
Oh my gosh. He's just a sweetie. He's so
I love
sweet
to
and
pick
just
on him. He
adorable.
feels like my little brother. So all I want to do is just pick on him and make fun of him and mess up his video games. Like I feel, I just have this sibling thing with him. I just want to kick over his Legos.
Oh my God.
I told you, I'm a terrible person and I need an outlet. So Miss Red season 2, please.
Oh my gosh, Mr. Thread, yes.
I just need an outlet. Okay.
Just need an outlet.
Just need an outlet.
Yeah, but like it was so funny because even when I was shooting my film, he ended up helping me. He helped like move paintings into the location that we had, because I had rented an Airbnb to work as a shooting location and also kind of like a makeshift hotel for like our crew to stay at. And we had to decorate the whole house with like indigenous art. And it was like the best thing ever. So we had like a bunch of paintings and he was moving them in his car. He was hanging them up while I was like hanging out with other people and trying to like do meetings and try to get everything together. So he was there like on set while I was shooting, and it was like really cute. It was really nice.
Well, he seems to be totally in love with you and totally supportive of you. Like he doesn't have that sometimes colonized male ego that I have to be more successful or popular and than my woman. Mm-hmm. Or, the guys that get threatened by a female success. He doesn't have any of that. He seems to just 100% be all about you. I think it's cute.
Oh, thank you. I'm 100% about him.
Kind of nauseating, but it is quite precious.
I'm obsessed with him. I'm like, wow, you're so beautiful. Wow, your hair. I'm like, let me braid it.
See, I don't, because I feel like he's my little brother. I don't see it. I'm like, you're a nerd. Go
He
back
is
to
a
your
nerd.
go back to your Mega Man.
Oh my gosh,
You
he's
know,
such a nerd. He loves video games, and I think
shut
that's
up
like
an
the cutest thing ever.
Xbox. We're making a movie. It's cracking me
He's
up.
actually playing a video game right now in the other room while I'm on
I
this
was
call.
worried, dear our Zoom, because his arm kept going up. I was worried that fool was sitting there like doing this while I'm trying to promote the band.
No, 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 no. He takes his band very
Oh.
seriously.
Well, and I'm surprised at that because you guys both are shattering perspectives and stereotypes of us, and that I so deeply appreciate. You know, the way you're shaking up film and talking about story concepts that don't fit into a cue sunrise, some lady connecting berries and the earth is our mother. You know, but you know what I mean? Like, you're not,
Yeah.
we're allowed to be dominatrixes,
Hmm.
dominatri. I don't know what the plural of them, a gaggle of dominatrixes. Okay.
I love it. Okay.
We're allowed to be reggae bands that don't have a flute.
Hmm.
We're allowed to be anything though. But you know what I'm saying? So the fact that
Hmm.
both of you are kind of shaking this up takes a lot of pressure off a lot of Indigenous people without you guys knowing it. The fact that I get to be loud and weird
Hmm.
and not the stoic, calm woman. Here's your fry bread, husband. You know
God.
that
Yeah.
I'm talking about the passive native woman. The calm
Hmm.
doesn't complain, is there for her chief. No, I come from a
Yeah.
matriarchal society. I learned that in stickball, if your man's out there on the field doing terrible, you get to go beat him until he plays right. Those are my women that I come from. So why am I supposed to put on an apron and be quiet in the kitchen?
Yeah. No. No.
So
Definitely not.
that's why this project that you're working on and your future scripts are such a relief to me because I get to see feisty, strong, independent, out of the kitchen, out of the teepee characters, and that I'm freaking out. I want to see like I'm about to just tell Rylan to go somewhere else, let you finish your writing, and let's make this. Leave her alone.
It's not Rylan that needs to leave me alone. It's
Ew.
production.
Oh,
I
golly.
love him. I'm taking him everywhere with me. And
So,
I even like I told him at
Peshawn,
one point, I was like, after
are you starting your own like sacred porn company? What is happening with all this?
no, I just like I told him I was like, okay, I was like, if COVID lets up and we can travel again, I was like, I want to go to New Orleans and write my vampire series. I was like, I feel like that would just be like the best thing ever. And that's like a plan I still want to do, even though I'm writing most of my character work here in New Mexico and essentially tying my characters, like the whole plot takes place in San Francisco, Oklahoma, and New Mexico, because those are like the places I know the best and have met the most like diverse indigenous peoples. So I feel like if I go to New Orleans, I can get all up in that interview with the vampire and do my like actual vampire research because there's actually like a vampire archive there and I'm really interested in learning about that.
And tours and all kinds of stuff.
Bourbon Street, yeah.
But see, okay, now you're messing me up because now I'm picturing you putting Rylan in an English turn of the century coat with those big old ruffles. Like,
No, indigenous vampires don't wear colonizers' clothing. That doesn't make sense.
well, there was a movie a million years ago called Brotherhood of the Wolf. And I think it was a French film, but there was a native warrior that was taken to Europe. And, in that turn of the century, 1900, to find this beast wolf or whatever. And now it's got me thinking, like, what if there was some old school Native American vampire that got stuck and bitten in England? Like,
Oh,
like what if he's more snobby than the rest of them? Because now
oh my
he's
God.
like fully colonized.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even think about that. I thought about there's actually like a part of my character, I call it my story Bible essentially, where it's just like the way of the world, how my vampires work, what are the characters like, etc. But there's a part that I wanted to write that kind of explains like the fetishization of Native people in Germany, especially, you know, when you see those Germans like having powwows and things like that. I mean, I will admit they're really good at beadwork, but it's scary. And so, like, I have like a part of my story where some of the vampires refused to go to Europe because of an incident that happened where they were captured there for a while and like had to fight to go back to America. And it's just like a small like side story, but there's a bunch of them. Like one of my main characters, her name is Aurora, and she was actually turned while she was at boarding school by, yeah, so it kind of like delves in like this deep history. So it's essentially what I wanted to do with each vampire character was to create an era of Native history. So for we have like parents and underlings. So essentially, Aurora is an underling to a Comanche warrior who fought during the Comanche Wars in the 1800s. And so he was there to like fight for his people and to kind of like prevent them going onto reservation until the time came that they were on reservation. And so after that, he went out to go find other indigenous vampires and teach them the ways of how to live and not be taught by a white person, essentially.
So instead of us thinking about the words of a great grandfather, here we actually have somebody who's as old as our great grandfather still alive because they're a vampire
Mhm.
telling us this stuff. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so we have that. We have his character, and then his underling Aurora was turned during the 20s when she was in boarding school and escapes boarding school because essentially this male character, one son is his name at the moment, and he essentially goes to boarding schools and he comforts like the children at night by like singing songs, like singing ceremonial songs. And I guess like in my story, there's a part where Aurora is comforting someone and she's singing a song and she ends up getting killed by the ministers of the school. And it like talks about that violence of boarding school because my great aunt had a horrible experience with that and wrote it down for me when I was like a child. I remember reading that and just being so hurt. And I want to bring that story in with this. And so essentially, she has a brother, a vampire brother, who was turned during the occupation of Alcatraz.
That's
Um, so it's just like different phases of like history, and that's something I want to talk about.
But when you make these history things alive, instead of somebody talking about an echo, the echo is there talking. Like that's
Yeah.
cool. So you said the German. So I saw this documentary, I want to honestly 25 years ago, that when Czechoslovakia was Czechoslovakia, but they were doing powwows too. They would spend 2 weeks out of like the Renaissance Fair, 2 weeks out of the
Yeah.
year, dress up in native stuff, build
Hmm.
teepees, like speak gibberish literally. And then one year they paid money to fly out a native elder who got there and was like, what the fudge? Like, what? Like, get me out of here because
Oh my god.
they were literally playing stereotypical natives from Westerns.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the only
Yeah.
insight towards indigenous culture they had and fell in love with it. So everything they did was based on Hollywood's interpretation of us.
Wow. Yikes.
So again, what you're doing excites me so much and I'm behind you so much is because we need this. My grandmother didn't tell us what happened, but ran away barefoot on rocks from boarding
Hmm.
school. So that just shows how crappy is somewhere that you're going to run away from with no shoes in the dark into the unknown. No idea where
Hmm.
you're going or what you're having. You have to imagine how terrible is that situation.
Hmm.
And so you telling these stories and reminding people that this did happen and it did have an impact, even though it's different characters, you're honoring that truth in history.
Hmm.
It's a big flipping deal.
Thank you. Thank you. I love history and I love, of course, like Native history as well. And I feel like that's something that I want to talk about and write in my films, but not have it be completely stereotyped, you know, like not completely
Or a lecture.
victimizing. Yeah, a lecture or victimizing us. It's like, why are we still going through this? It's like, no, this is a part of our history. It has happened. It is why we are the way we are, but it's not something that we need to like recognize ourselves as. We don't need to recognize ourselves as the trauma because it wasn't our fault. It's like I see so many films where they kind of feel they're kind of like, oh, this is Indigenous person. There's rape. There's suicide. There's violence, and here you go. It's like, why am I watching this? Like, I don't need to be. I don't need to watch this and feel enlightened. Like, I'm not going to be walking out of the theater like, yay, that's us. You know, it's like it doesn't make any sense.
But the healing and the medicine that we become after this violence, rape, trauma,
Mm-hmm.
lies in the media, that I think is the delicious, beautiful core of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
That we are not defined or pigeonholed, but we come together with our pain and make something so much more beautiful and delicious.
Exactly. I want us to heal from like the representation of media that we've had throughout all these years. And I feel like I'm not going to be the one to entirely heal everybody, but I just want to have like a couple of stories that we can all watch and just like relate to and actually feel good about.
But I feel good talking to you, Indigenous woman to Indigenous woman, that there is a change a coming, that there is somebody who takes time out of her heart and brain to change this. That is a huge deal. It is very easy just to say this is what it is and carry on in your own selfish way, living out of your own selfish pain.
Yeah.
And you're not doing that. And that is so huge and needs to be honored and screened and thrown glitter on it. And just, you're a big deal.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. It really does. I mean, I don't think I'm like a big deal or anything like that, but thank you so much.
Because we're humble, but you're a big flipping deal. You really are.
Thank you.
No, Rylan is cool. Okay. Love the guy. He's my little brobo. Okay. Totally support what they're doing and love their lyrics and their vibe and their band and everything. It's great. But you are the shiznit. Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay. I'm doing the Wayne's World. We're not worthy because I do believe and see so much in you and actually feel that you're going to do all this stuff that you're trying to. Like, I actually see your accomplishments.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's
Thank
exciting.
you.
My microphone is an oracle. I see into the microphone. What do I see? I see unknown awards from film festivals nobody cares about.
Oh my gosh. The shade of it all.
I see weird Canadian networks. Oh God. Okay. So Trickster came out on CW. I'm not a big fan of CW because CW is like teenage drama, like just terrible television. Have you watched Trickster? Should I watch it? I feel like it's just going to be teenage angsty drama.
I haven't had time to watch it yet, but I would definitely watch it because it's making waves. So I'd rather, have you watch something like that. I need to watch it myself. We can talk about it another time, but like when I get time to, I would love to sit down and watch it.
Watch it in August, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Basically,
when I can on the weekends in August.
Peshawn alone until August 1st, and you can start bugging her and scheduling events. No, but I feel like people are taking an interest more in our concepts and stories, but I feel like they still see us a certain way. And I feel that in the African and American storytelling too. It's supposed to be a poor kid and his hard life that finally makes it to college. Or a sports related thing. So I feel like they're still trying to pigeonhole certain cultures to a story or perspective.
Yeah, I feel like that too. Like I've had like a couple of offers to help write on certain TV shows because they're like, oh, we are a consult essentially. So they're like, we have one Native American character. Can you how do we write this character? Like, can you teach us how to write that? And I was like, okay, sure. And I would say, well, let me read the character. Let me just read what it's about. And so I remember reading this story. It was like she is half Indigenous. Her father was a drunk, and therefore, like, she doesn't know the way. And I was like, what way? I was like, what? And I sat there and I had to write back and I was like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm a little busy with other projects. So I just didn't do it. I was like, this is just like, I was like, I don't know how to process this kind
But
of like,
that's the thing. Here we are. We're poor and our parents are drunk and we only have one uncle who still does sweat lodge and mom's working because dad, it's and so it makes me want to scream. And then even like Trickster, here I am, decades old with the same stuff that I'm even the new stuff that's coming out. I'm like, here we go again, and I guess I got to get out of that and allow myself to experience the new things and let that sink in. Cause I mean, Dances with Wolves, you guys, that hurt everybody, I think.
I mean, it's good meme quality, like content now. But
Well,
I
it gave
mean,
some of our uncles and cousins a job, but and then my friend named his dog Tatanka, and I just was like, I can't. I love the dog, but you guys, help me help you. We learned Wasishu and Tatanka from that movie. That's it. I quit. I quit. No, let's talk about Fargo. That was way more interesting to me than Dances with Wolves.
oh my God.
So, Peshawn bread, do you have like internets or an IMDb PD? Like, where can people just like fall in love with you as much as I have?
Let's see. I have an IMDb if you want to look me up. I'm on there. I think I have one fun fact, and I think someone wrote about my height. I don't someone
Can you
wrote my fun fact.
I got about 10 fun facts just from this interview.
Yeah,
This
just
woman
go
is
just
awesome.
contribute. Contribute
Hire
on
her
there.
for everything.
Oh my
She's the
God.
shizzle, my nizzle. Okay. Ah. Well, and
Yeah, I
that's
looked
the
at
thing too. Like being diminished. Here you are trying to do all this stuff in Indian country and change the paradigm and perspective and write good things. And they're like, she's tall. I liked her necklace. Like, God. Go.
I love it though. I love it. It's just it's cute. They're like, she's 5'8". I was like, wow, okay. I'm like, yes, I am. I don't know who I told that to, who like wrote this down. I was like, but I mean, take it or run. Do what you want with that information. Slide into my DMs on Instagram and be like, hey, you're 5'8". It's good to meet you.
My God. Oh, so you are on the Instagrams, the
Oh
Twitter,
yeah, I'm
Facebook.
on I'm on the gram. So it's real pea bread, REALP, and then bread, BREAD is my Instagram. I have a Facebook. That one's more for like my family, but I mean, you're more than welcome to just slide me a message. I'm not
Well,
on Twitter because Twitter's too scary and political. It like
but I want to keep
triggers
tabs
me.
on you and watch your stuff evolve. Like I want to be, and what is it, Miss Red, Mrs. Red, Mistress Red?
Oh, Mistress Red, yes.
I'm freaking out. I want to watch that so bad.
Oh, and there's an Instagram for that too, Mistress Red Film.
So that's going to be a film, not a series.
So that one's actually a short film at the moment. Yeah, it's a short. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
I
waiting
kind of
for, I
broke.
thought it was going to be like Harlots, right? But like made style.
Oh,
So I'm looking forward to like 5 seasons of like these women and their harnesses with native beads and their peyote stitched whips with eagle
oh my
tip.
God.
You
Well,
know?
I'm working on making it a series. That was kind of like my goal, is to make it a series or make it a feature film. And I'm still trying to decide what I want to do with it, since it's such like a big character. I want to make sure that I have like enough time and like just a good story for it. But it's a mockumentary short film. I can send you a trailer if you like, if that helps.
I would love it for me because again, this is exciting. Real, new, indigenous perspective and content that takes us out of that decades and decades. Since Hollywood was invented, we've been misrepresented.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm just so fired up about you and anything that you're trying to do, because it's a breath of fresh air. It's a breath of fresh sage. Um, coming on in. So again, what pea bread?
Real pea bread, REAL P and then bread. Pea bread was my high school nickname. Like going to an Indian school, essentially, everyone's like, yo, pea bread. I was like, okay, cool, that's my name. how's it going?
Yeah. And then decades later, we are still Jiffer and P Bread. Sounds like a terrible rap group, but we'll
It
see.
does. It really does. It sounds like we make mixtapes in our garage.
Whatever, P Bread.
It sounds like a bunch of echoing of our names over and over.
Right? I'm ready. I'm ready for your big old medallion doing the West Side. I love it. So I would appreciate sending whatever trailers just so I can keep tabs. I'm going to keep watching you. Tell Rylan I said meh.
Okay, I will.
No, I'm kidding. I love the kid and I love you guys. And when you were in San Francisco, when I just finished doing some interviews and stuff at Alcatraz. So we missed each other by a few days. So I was yelling at him just on, why don't you tell me anything? Well, I'm trying to be with my girlfriend, Well, I want to meet your girlfriend. So this is a long time coming. I've patiently been professional and cool. I had to fake an interstate interview last week just to get to you this week.
Oh my goodness.
I'm kidding.
I'm flattered.
I'm kidding. But I back you. I support you. If there's anything new or out, please let us know because I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed.
Yay. Shook. Thank you.
Peshawn bread. Can you just give you a Google? If you just Google it, all your stuff will pop up. People can be going, oh my God, she looks so 5'9".
Yes, you can just Google me or you can Instagram. I'm mainly on Instagram these days. I just tend to use that as like just to keep up with like personal life, and then I'll be posting on my film page more often. That to be done. But yeah, it'd be wonderful to catch up with everyone and to say hello. And y'all can comment on my posts. You can comment on pictures of Rylan Knight and say, "Wow, she's so 5'8". That'd be great."
She's so 5'8". How is that a fun fact? Here's a fun fact. She's like brilliant. That's a fun fact to me, not like
I mean, if you look up celebrities, like just go on IMDb and look up celebrities and like look at their fun facts, and like people are nuts. Like someone was like, "Oh, they have a second home in like Tahoe," or "They're a Leo and a Virgo rising," or it's like, what?
Oh my Lord. I don't even know. Like, what's their native version of that? I don't know. Well, I believe in you. And I'm telling you, Peshawn, I see it. I see it so clearly. It makes me crazy. You are onto something. And however our little Northern California community or our little radio station can support you guys, we got your back.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It feels good to know that we always like have a home, essentially. I love NorCal. I miss it so much. If you guys are there, enjoy the weather for me, please.
Are you kidding me? I've got a jacket for Christmas I haven't worn yet because it's too hot. Seriously. No, that's why we catch on fire, because we have these like beautiful, sunny, dry winters.
Yeah.
And then we catch on fire and wonder why. Why? Well, do me a favor and tell Rylan he's like 5th down my favorite person list at this point. If there was a gold star, I would be sending it to you. And
Thank you.
I'm telling you, you're blowing me away. I mean, you are brilliant. You're on to something and you get it. You get what needs to change and you're using those avenues to change them. You're not, do you know what I'm saying? You're not coming down. We need to change everything. You're like, shifting it where you can. And that takes patience and diplomacy. And I have none of that. So I admire you so greatly.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful to talk to you. I'm so happy we got to chat.
The real P Bread.
Yay.
Instagram, Facebook, IMDb. Give this woman a Google, you guys. I'm telling her, I just want you to love her as much as I do.